GirlPod. What's up, GirlPod? She's in GirlPod too.
Making the citizens token is what killed it for me. I'm like, if I could make more cats and dogs because my cards affect cats, and nothing I have is like, it affects cats, dogs, and dumb white people. Like, no, it's all just like, it will give your cats +1/+1. It will give your dogs protection from these colors. Like,
dumb white people. What's up, y'all? I'm Sarah.
And I'm Sandwich.
And we're GirlPod. So, super excited for today. We are upgrading Sandwich's Rin and Seri deck. We have been talking about doing this, and we decided to just pull the trigger and do it. So, we're going to be taking out a couple cards, throwing in a couple cards. Some of these are definitely not budget-friendly ads. Some of them are, but, yeah. This episode is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc. Use code GirlPod for 5% off your order. If you want to support the show directly, check our Patreon down below. And if you like beautiful playmats and want to buy one for yourself, go to jankmats.com/GirlPodMTG and use code GirlPodMTG for 10% off your order. Okay, let's get into it. So,
yeah!
We have our list of what we would remove. So let's talk about what we're taking out first, and then we can talk about what we're throwing in. So my first one that I would remove was the Alms Collector, and it's a 4-drop, 3 and a white. Creature can't cleric. It has flash, and if an opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player each draw a card. I don't think this is a bad card at all. I just don't think that in casual pods you're going to see instances of multiple card draw enough to get the value off of this card, and ultimately I just think that 4 mana could go somewhere else. I think you could pay for something much better.
Yeah, I do agree with you because as I've played this, like, sometimes it is hard to get mana out, and 4 is a lot. I didn't put this on my list just because I have drawn it a lot in these games. Like, you know, when you first start playing a deck, you draw a couple of the same cards more often than not. And this is one that comes up almost every game, and I get a couple of free cards, but I agree. In the large scale of things, 4 is a lot for what you're going to get out of it in a pod.
Yeah.
My first remove would actually be a 4-drop as well. It's Cast Out, and just for the exact same reason, it's too expensive for one thing. With what's going on with this deck, I think that you can focus on things other than taking out one. You can focus on protection, you can focus on tokens. Don't worry about one removal, is my thought.
That makes sense to me.
Cast Out. I'm so sorry. It's an enchantment that is a 4-drop. When Cast Out enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Cast Out leaves the battlefield. But also cycling, so you can discard that card and draw a card from.
So I think my next one is Crib Swap, and it's mostly for the same reason. It is expensive. It does have changeling, so it does get you a cat or a dog off of it. It's a 3-drop tribal instant shapeshifter, and you exile target creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature token with changeling. I chose to take this out just because in a lot of the cards that I opted to slot in is cheaper removal that's not going to give your opponents the advantage of having another creature. Even if it is just a 1/1, I think giving them something that is going to give them an advantage against you, where now you have all these tokens and there's no telling how many creatures they have, you're giving them another one to add to their count. I think sometimes it's fine, but sometimes it's not fine, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels bad. I don't like giving my opponents things. I don't like giving them anything but pain and suffering.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Do you like cool stuff? Do you like GirlPod? Do you want to get cool stuff while also supporting GirlPod? Go on over to CoolStuffInc.com, put all the cool stuff you want in your cart, and use code GirlPod at checkout for 5% off. This will ensure that you have the coolest stuff and that the girls can keep potting. Cool stuff, cool stuff. What's up, cool stuff? We buy cool stuff too.
Okay. So for my next removal, I chose Cursed Mirror. It is pretty cool. It is an artifact that you can tap and add for red. It's 2 generic and 1 red mana to actually cast it, and then you can tap it for a red. And as it enters the battlefield, you can have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until the end of turn, except it has haste. So this is cool, but when I've been playing this deck. I have not had a situation in which I could use it or have enough of the right kind of mana out. I think that with this deck, the mana base is more heavily leaning towards the plains and the forests, and like I rarely draw a mountain. So a lot of my like removes in this are actually going to have red mana in them, just because I personally have not hit it that often. It is a cool card. I am looking forward to copying things in the future in other decks, but in this one, it's just not doing what I want it to do, and it's not working the way I want it to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this next one hurts me to say, and I'm really sorry.
I know! I saw that, and I was like...
I'm so sorry.
But I get it, but like I couldn't, but like I get it, but like, oh my god, bitch.
It's the Greater Tanuki, and I know that this is your boy. I know he's your favorite. I love him so much. Hear me out. So he is a 6-drop, 4-2 green, enchantment creature dog. He does have trample, which is cool. He has channel. You can pay 2 and a green to discard it. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And he's a 6-5. So, you're getting a lot of value off the Greater Tanuki, but my issue with the Greater Tanuki is that this deck has so many different ways to go and dig for land that this just feels like almost a dead card. Because you're either just going to have a really beefy dog, which is great, but also if you don't have enough if you're not pulling enough of the mana to play the Greater Tanuki until the later game, at that point in the later game, I feel like you're focusing on your tokens, getting the tokens to be bigger, scarier, whatever, right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. I just think you could slot something in that has a little bit more value than Greater Tanuki. I think it's a great card. Don't get me wrong. I love him. I get it. I love him. For me, it's literally just the fact that there is so many instants and sorceries in this deck that allow you to go and dig for land that it feels like you don't need this.
Yeah, I think it was an ad because he is precious baby boy dog, so good, so beautiful, but I agree, like, I rarely even play Tanuki when I'm playing Anixia, and Anixia gets me so much mana because he's so expensive. Like, I love him so much, but, like, yeah, he is very spendy. It's like, shows you the responsibility of buying a dog, for sure. It is the Highcliff Fadar, which is 5 generic and 2 white, so 7, which is, like, I don't think I've ever cast a 7-drop that wasn't from a Kinnan, you know? Like, yeah. It's a creature that is a cat beast. It's great art. I love it. It's so cute. Like, the Felidar retreats, I thought they had little tiny, like, bows on their head. This motherfucker has horns. I can tell. They're gorgeous. He has vigilance, and when Highcliff Fadar enters the battlefield, for each opponent, choose a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls and destroy those creatures. So it's pretty cool. It is a 5/5. It is beefy, but like 7 mana in this economy?
Yeah, I think there are just cheaper cards that can do more. That can do that for you for much cheaper.
For 7? You could do a farewell for, I think, 5. Like, that's everything.
You could board wipe for much cheaper.
Yeah, like, yeah. So...
Okay. My next remove is the Masked Vandal. It's 1 and a green, a shapeshifter creature. It has Changeling, and when it ETBs, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard, and if you do, you exile target artifact or enchantment and opponent controls. Again, this feels like one of those cards where there's something else that could do it better, and the real benefit that you're getting from this is the fact that it does have Changeling, so you would get a token. But yeah. I don't think this deck is running enough recursion as it is. So to have a card in your graveyard and then to have to then go and choose to exile something to destroy something else, I think we could do it better for cheaper.
Forced recursion is what this feels like. Like, and then you're also gonna go in there. Like, that is not the vibe of this deck at all. So yeah, okay. The next card that I would take out is the Kamu Battle Armor, which is 2 generic and red mana. It's an artifact creature that is also a dog. It has menace, and the equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has menace. Whenever Kamu Battle Armor or equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, goad that each creature that player controls. And it has Reconfigure, where you can pay 4 to attach to a target creature you control or unattach from a creature. Reconfigure only as a sorcery while attached. This isn't a creature. So it's kind of cool because it is a dog. You get the you get the token generation off of it, and it is nice to have menace because then that helps with like blocking, obviously. But I haven't used that this much. Like I said, the red mana doesn't come up super often for me, and when I was trying to think of things that I would remove, this came up as I've had it in my hands a couple of times and I haven't played it, so I could put another card in there that I would more likely play.
That makes sense. Perfect sense. So I would also remove 2 of the planes. I think whenever I see you play this deck, I feel like you get mana flooded a lot, especially with the planes.
Yeah.
And I feel like you always have more planes than anything. So I'd remove 2 basics, and I would maybe throw in a couple duels. I know they're expensive, so definitely, it could be the ones like the bond lands. There we go.
Bond.
So the bond lands are the ones that like they enter if you have 2 or more opponents. Like they enter in tapped, you have 2 or more opponents.
Oh, okay. Yes, there is one card like that I have in the CEDH deck that I have, the Canon deck. So yeah, that's a good idea. You know what? Honestly, I think there could be a whole deck tech on the mana base in this deck particularly. That is one of the biggest issues that I've had, but like it would have to be a complete overhaul, and I didn't want to make all of my cards lands because they have a lot of planes, and then they have so many. This land comes in tapped, like 4 of them, and if I'm already not getting enough mana, and then you're gonna make it come in tapped regardless, I don't even get the option. Like,
yeah,
the mana base is a little whack in this deck.
I think I would take out 2 of the planes, and I would probably put it in those bond lands, just for the cost, and also, I don't know, I feel like it just feels better to have lands that tap for 2 different colors, so like the white-red or like the green-red, to give you a little bit more access to that red mana that you're missing. Because I think taking just 2 planes out and just literally slotting in bond lands, or even the lands that do enter tap but tap for both colors, like that is still more helpful than to have no red mana.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think that's a great call. I didn't even think about the bond lands. I had thoughts of the dual color lands, but bond lands is a great idea. For my next removal, I put the Lurking Predators, which is 4 generic and 2 green. It's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into the battlefield. Otherwise, you may put that card at the bottom of your library. It's pretty cool. We do play a lot of spells in this game. That's what it's pretty much about. But it is a 6-drop, and if it's not the like a creature, then I just already know what my card is, and it's not going to do me a lot of good. And I think there's other cards that we could slot in for less.
I think Lurking Predators is really cool in this deck. However, this deck does not run a lot of protection or interaction. And so I think Lurking Predators is one of those cards that as soon as it hits the battlefield, we're looking to remove it. We're like, okay, how do we get rid of this? Like, we don't want this here. And so because
that is true, I
feel like there's usually a lot of instances where you don't have removal or you don't have a way to protect your things. It just feels bad to put out an insta-kill card.
Yeah, I think with Precons, they try to make it so everyone can play, all playstyles can play, and it gets muddled. Like, in a specific deck, like with protection and things like that, this card would be awesome. But you're right, like they're trying to do so many things with this deck to appeal to so many playstyles that it is just a dangerous card. You might get 1 and then it's gone, and then you paid 6 for 1, and you could have bought something for 6 for better. Like,
yeah. Okay, so my next one is Showdown of the Scalds. It is in a Saga enchantment. It is 2, a red, a white. It says exile the top 4 of cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play these cards. And then chapter 2 and 3 are both, whenever you cast a spell this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. They're better sagas. That's literally all there is. It's just better sagas that give you better things. Even the one that you run in your Nixia deck is better than this one. And I feel like that one's cheaper and...
yeah. Yep, I agree with you. That was one of the first ones that we both marked down, and I was like, I saw that, and I was like, why are you here? Like,
yeah.
It just...
My next one is Stalking Leon. It's 2 and a white. It is a cat archer creature. It says, when it ETBs, secretly choose an opponent. Reveal the player you chose. Exile target creature that's attacking you. If it's controlled by the chosen player, activate this ability only once.
It's like the town of, or what is it, Night at Salem or whatever, that one game where everyone has to murder someone in the night. It's an interesting card, but it's like...
It's doing too much.
You like have a secret piece of paper, you write this little secret note.
Like, choose someone
you're trying to attack me?
Now, there are some cards in Magic that are like playing a mini game within the game, and I think those are awesome. That's super cool. Big fan, whatever. This is doing too much. It's doing too much. It's doing too much.
It's funny. I think that's funny. I agree with you. It is so dramatic, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my next one is 3 visits. 1 in a green sorcery. Search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield and shuffle. You have 5 other cards that do the same thing. You don't need this. It's too much. Too much. We're good.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with you. Same story. My next one is the Fabian Boss Confidant. It's 3 generic, then it's also a red, a green, and a white. Legendary creature though, she's a cat advisor, she's gorgeous, she's serving, she eats, no crumbs, it's beautiful. However, she's super expensive, and but creature tokens you control have haste and parlay. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player reveals the top card of their library. For each land card revealed this way, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. The creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn for each non-land card revealed this way. Then each player draws a card. So that is like a lot of cool stuff though. Actually, dude, am I gonna like re-pull her out too?
I don't know. I feel like this deck is trying to make cats and dogs. So to have a cat that's gonna make you a dog, but now you have to make a bunch of citizen creature tokens. Plus you're giving your opponent's card draw.
Like, see, it making the citizens token is what killed it for me. I'm like, if I could make more cats and dogs because my cards affect cats, and nothing I have is like, it affects cats, dogs, and dumb white people. Like, no, it's all just like, it will give your cats +1/+1. It will give your dogs protection from these colors. Like,
dumb white people! Urgent. I agree with that. Okay, so my last remove is Warp World. 5 and 3 red, so it's 8 mana that you already have said you don't have that fucking mana. Each player shuffles all permanents he or she owns into his or her library, then reveals that many cards from the top of his or her library. Each player puts all artifact, creature, and land cards revealed this way into play, then puts all the enchantment cards revealed this way into play, then puts the rest on the bottom of it. Like, what the? Shut up. What are we doing? Yeah. Stop it. Stop.
You thought Leonin was doing too much. What the fuck?
Yeah, like,
yep.
I get it. This is cool. You're basically clearing the board, and if you're playing against decks that don't have... Like, obviously, this is a situational card, because you wouldn't throw this down if I'm playing a Urza, because you know I'm about to put all my fucking artifacts back onto the battlefield, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like, not cool. But, honestly, I feel like if you're playing this to get rid of one thing, you could just Chaos Warp it, and it's cheaper for mana, and it's cheaper... I don't think Chaos Warp is less than 79 cents, but Chaos Warp is just objectively better here, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I can't... Yes, this is a board wipe, but again, Farewell is cheaper.
It's so much more, too.
Farewell is cheaper!
Yeah. Oh my god, dude. Farewell is cheaper. Farewell is cheaper. So good.
Watch Farewell actually not be cheaper, and we're just wrong about this entire thing. But yes, okay, I think Warp World, I would either add a Chaos Warp just to get rid of one specific permanent, because this is like Chaos Warp on crack, because it affects everybody. But I think letting your opponents pull it, like, there's no telling. With the way that decks are built now, with, like, especially, I'm looking at this as if it is, like, your deck. Like, obviously we are upgrading your specific deck.
Yeah.
The people that we play against... There's no telling what this is gonna pop out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look at this! I just drew my freaking Rhystic Study, Mystic Grimoire, freaking Mana Cryptite. You know what I mean? Like, We play ridiculous shit in casual. We don't play, like, we play too hard, and this is not good.
Yeah. I in one game have had this done to me by someone else. It was at my LGS, and like, it was fun and it was funny because like it is a fun and funny card, but like it was absolute chaos. And like the one dude got like a Rakdos and like 3 other things, and he just like and then won the game, and I was like, well, that was fun. Never want to do that again. My last remove is 1 more mana, and it is just Sheltered Thicket, which I know is a red, but I just picked one of these because it's one of those tapped lands, and I hate that. I think they need to take the tapped lands out of this. The mana is the problem, and that was my final thing about it. I was like going through them, and that came up. Yeah. There's so many better lands.
There are lands that tap for both, like, you could tap for 2 mana, like, you can tap for a green or a red, and it does enter tap, you don't have to bounce them back to your hand. But you still get 2 mana out of it. 2
mana, at the end of the day, it comes in and it's not. I like that you have the option for this, but if you're gonna make me wait a turn, give me 2 mana, please, and thank you.
Absolutely. 100%.
That was my last takeout.
Okay, so let's talk about what we would add. And I realized that I literally talked about getting rid of Crib Swap because it gives your opponent something. But for the same mana, I would add Beast Within. It's 2 and a green. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. I just like Beast Within, that's all.
It's got great art too. Like,
and I think your curve is very much leaning green. So I would rather you have Beast Within than Crib Swap, because even though Crib Swap gives you a 1/1 and Beast Within gives you a 3/3, there's a higher chance that you'd be able to play Beast Within because of the way that your curve is set up.
I agree. I think that that's a great ad. And we love a token. Speaking of tokens, this one is not going to affect that token, but for the build that I was thinking of, it's like going wide with a bunch of little tokens. So I added Delny, the Streetwise Lookout, which is 2 generic and a white, and creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. And if an ability you control, or if an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So hopefully some of the token makers will be making more tokens, and then no one will be able to block my little guys. So
So the next one that I would add is Coat of Arms. It is a little bit more on the expensive side. It is a 5/5, but each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least 1 creature type with it. So, like, this would make your tokens
huge.
They would be so big. This is more of an expensive card in terms of, this is like $20 card, but I have one in my bulk. I can just give it to you. You don't
shit. Yo, I think this is a great ad. Because if you don't have Delny out, then you want your creatures to be as big as possible. The only thing Delny's doing is, like, if you have little creatures, they get a chance. But if you don't, then Coat of Arms all the way. Like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next ad I have is actually the first, like, vehicle that I've ever looked at, and it's Avas Chariot. It's 3 generic and a green. When Avas Chariot enters, create 2 green cat creature tokens, and whenever Avas Chariot attacks, create a token that's a copy of a target token you control. So it's just tokens making tokens making tokens, and
that's awesome. No, that's awesome. I love it. Big fan of that. So my next one is ridiculous, and you don't need to add it, and it's just because I think it's funny. I would put in a Dogside extortionist. I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely would.
It's
this
funny.
Again. It's just something. The decks that we play, that you play against, the way that we play on our channel, the people that we play with on a regular basis, are playing artifact enchantment decks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Urz is a full artifact deck. Obeka is an enchantment deck, for lack of a better term. Like,
true.
You're gonna get value off of Dogside being in here.
Yeah.
Okay, should Dogside be in casuals?
You gotta have a Rule 0 conversation about that. Man.
I know, and obviously, don't fucking play it if there are no artifact enchantments out. If you're only gonna get 2 treasures off of it, don't play it. But there are some there are some things in this deck that let you blink things and return things to your hand, and if that's the case, return Dogside, play it again. There you go. Now you got more treasures. You're welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. Hallelujah.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
Amen. Hallelujah. That's my ad. This is honestly one of those,
it.
like, maybe ads, because Dogside is ridiculously expensive, and I understand why. It's just objectively a good card. But
I mean, look at that hat. Like, can you there's no price for Tiny Monkey and Pirate Hat. Like, oh, you know what? This is a card that I actually almost misplayed last night. I would add Heroic Intervention. Just for a little bit of, like, a little bit of protection. It's 1 generic and a green. It's an instant permanent you control, gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. Just because there's, like, no protection in this deck, I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna add something.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next ad is an Emerald Medallion. I think the curve is very heavy green. This is a 2-drop artifact that says green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So it just makes your green spells cheaper, and because your curve does very heavily lean towards green permanents, I think Emerald Medallion is a must add.
Yeah, I agree. That's such a good pick. I can't believe I didn't even think of that. Thank you. So I did the Idol of Oblivion for my next ad, which is 2 generic. It's an artifact. You can tap it to draw a card, activate only if you created a token this turn. You can pay 8 and tap to sacrifice Idol of Oblivion, create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token. Did this for the card draw, just because sometimes I will get stuck in getting mana, and so yeah.
Yeah, I love Idol of Oblivion. It's one of my favorite cards to run in any, like, honestly, any token tribal deck. I think Idol of Oblivion belongs there. Absolutely.
Yeah, cheap and free cards.
Yeah.
Yep.
My next one is similar to Heroic Intervention. It's Flawless Maneuver. It is 2 generic and a white. It is an instant, and it says, if you control a commander, you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So this is just a little bit more protection, and I feel like you tend to get Rin and Seri out pretty early. So this is one of those that you don't have to pay the mana cost. You can just throw it down on the stack. Be like, hey, so I'm good. Destroy all creatures, but mine. Hello. Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, dude, could you imagine doing, like, any of the, like, can you imagine Cast Out, where it's, what was it, 6? 4? Like, this is cheaper than that, and it's so good. It's a great ad, dude.
I'm a fan.
So I added the Lithoform engine, which is not super expensive, not super cheap, though. It is 4 generic, and it's a legendary artifact. You can pay 2 and tap it, copy target, activate it or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for that copy. 3 and tap it, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets to copy, or 4 and tap it for copy target permanent spell you control, and it becomes a token. So I just think it's, with this, there's so much fun stuff you could do, and I think it's just a fun ad.
You could literally copy the triggered ability of Rin and Seri and make extra tokens.
And then, depending on what other combination is out, they're either all protected or they're just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, or especially, like, if you have Mondrak out.
That's
I mean, y'all know from watching y'all know from watching the Brea video that we really like them token triplers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think our most popular TikTok video is you going, doubling season? What about tripling season, bitch? It's so good. It's so good. So, I think Lithoform engine is great, because also, if you have any removal spells that are cheap, you can pay 3 and tap it and copy it and destroy something else. So you can 2 birds, 1 stone. It makes the cost worth it, in my opinion. I love it. I think it's a great ad.
Thank you.
Of course. So my next one, again, the same reason I took out Crib Swap. I'm being so, y'all are catching me out here in 4K. I would add Generous Gift. It's 2 and a white, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token, which, hear me out. So the reason why I was thinking of Generous Gift and Beast Within and things that give you creature tokens is specifically because if you get into a situation where your board has been destroyed, you get Rin and Seri back out, you make like a dog a cat, right? If you need more protection, if you need bigger protection, you can cast these on your own things and give yourself the creature tokens.
Oh! Ooh!
That was my thought. It's spicy. Like, if you have a 1/1 token and you destroy it to give yourself a 3/3, like, that just gives you just like a smidge more protection.
Yeah, it fucking does.
It's not a dog or a cat, but...
Yeah. Oh, but it's a 3/3. Oh, that's smart.
Sometimes
I like that.
play Magic.
Sometimes you play it and sometimes you fucking own it.
Thanks. Okay, that was my ad.
My next one just talked about it. Mondrak Glory Dominus. I picked Mondrak over O'Hare because of cost and mana we've talked about.
Yeah.
This one is only 2 generic and 2 white. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens would be created instead. And you can pay 1 generic and 2 Phyrexian, which I believe is 2 health each. You can sacrifice
so
2 other artifacts.
Or 2 white.
Oh, 2 life. Okay. 2 life or 2 white. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You got it.
Which in this deck with all those fucking planes is gonna be great. You can put indestructible. Yo, you know what? You have changed the game for me. Like, I heard that before, and I'd seen you do it, but recently, with playing CDH, I've realized that, like, I have to pay for my life. I have to pay my life, or y'all are just gonna take it from me. Like, it is my resource, or your fucking, like, yum-yums, and I don't want you to fucking eat, so.
I don't want you to starve.
Starve. So,
okay.
yeah,
I like
Mondrak.
I think Mondrak is perfect here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. So my next ad, I added a lot of removal because I feel like this deck did not run enough of it. So my next one is Obscuring Haze. It's 2 and a green. If you control commander, you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost. So again, it can be a free counter or free destruction, free removal. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures your opponents control. So if someone's swinging out at you for lethal, LOL, nah.
Not today.
And now you're completely open and my tokens are...
True, and yeah, it's like either free or 3 for that kind of protection. That's such a good, that's definitely going in. Like, thank you.
You got it. And it's not that expensive monetarily either. It's only like a $4 card. That's not bad.
Oh, very, very much in my price range too,
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Absolutely.
This one is a little bit more expensive, but my whole thing was going for making as many tokens as possible, so I did Parallel Lives, which is 3 generic and a green. It's an enchantment, and if an effect would create 1 or more token under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. Sorry, that felt weird in my mouth for a second, but we're back.
Sorry.
No, that was perfect, dude. I haven't heard of that's what she said in so long. Oh my god. So yeah, more tokens, more murder. That was the theme
murder! Okay, my next ad is Pearl Medallion. It is a 2-drop artifact. White spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Just another one of those cost reduction cards that's gonna help you get through your deck a little bit faster, especially if you're not tapping out every turn to play cards.
Yeah. Oh, tapping out is so scary. I love those. The Medallions is a great ad. Okay, my next ad is Primal Vigor. So if 1 or more, it's an enchantment that is 4 generic and 1 green. If 1 or more tokens will be put onto the battlefield, twice that many tokens are put onto the battlefield instead. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters will be placed on a creature, twice that many +1/+1 counters are placed on that creature instead. So
it's like Doubling Season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I think a little bit cheaper. I think Doubling Season is 6, so it's nice that this is only 5.
Is this next?
I'll look it up. It's 5, you're right. Doubling Season is 5. So they're the same cost.
Oh, cool.
Very nice.
Very nice, very nice. Alright, my next ad is again just more removal, Swords to Plowshare. I was looking at the deck list and I was amazed that this wasn't in here. It's literally 1 white instant, exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. I don't like giving away free resources, especially life, but if you have something problematic, use it to get rid of it. Or as we've seen before, Swords to Plowshare can be used to save your butt in a pinch.
Yeah, it's a good card, dude. It's so cheap. Oh, such a good card.
Yeah.
My next ad is the Prowling Serpopard. Serpopard?
Serpopard?
So Prowling Say that one again.
Prowling Serpapard.
Prowling Serpapard. Just cut everything else out before that. Prowling Serpapard. It's 1 generic and 2 green. It's a creature that is a cat snake. Great combination. And the spell can't be countered, and creature spells you control can't be countered. So just a little protection.
Yeah, I like it. I run this in Tulane because my combo in Tulane is usually a creature combo, and this is perfect.
That
I
makes
think for
a lot of
making
sense.
tokens and for making things like that, I think Prowling Serpapard is perfect. So my next one is a fan favorite. It is expensive monetarily. It is Teferi's Protection. 2 generic and a white, an instant. Until your next turn, your life total can't change and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Exile Teferi's Protection. So my thought was farewell on the stack, Teferi's Protection on top.
Save yourself.
Save yourself.
Love that. That's
and
a
then
great
whenever
idea.
it comes back around to your turn, you can swing out because they'll have to rebuild.
Everyone. Diabolical. That's so good. I love that. Playing your own farewell and then, oh no, responses in response to my own farewell, I will respond to that and say, yep, that's so good.
Yeah.
And then just punching them in the face.
Yeah, especially if you have a ton of little tokens, or even if you can like make more before you farewell. Like, especially if you start making more tokens, you're making more things. No one is gonna see a farewell coming because they're like, okay, well, if she's making a bunch of stuff, she's not gonna destroy.
She doesn't want to keep her.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna farewell, and you're like, and then I'm gonna tough pro.
The psychological warfare.
Oh,
Okay, that's going
okay,
in.
holding priority with that on the stack. I'm gonna cast to basically like, why is she holding priority in casual?
Okay, that's definite ad. That's definite. Okay, now and farewell, the one that neither one of us added, is also a definite
We
ad.
talked about
I have
it
to do
so
that. Farewell is cheaper. Not on the list.
Farewell is
Oh, well.
cheaper. All right.
Yeah, that's such a good call. I'm definitely doing that one. My next one is a little bit more protection. Return to nature is 1 generic and a green. It's an instant. You choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile target card from graveyard. So,
Simple,
a little-
easy peasy. Just a little. I like it. All right. My last one is Triumph of the Hordes. So it is 2 generic and 2 green. It's a sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample and infect. I think if you have large tokens, I think this is a win con. For me personally, I would call this a win con because you're giving them trample, and if you have a very wide array, like even if you have 10 tokens with trample and they're 2/2s and they can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, even then, some are getting through at the very least.
yeah.
So you're doing that infect, and I think this is one of the situations where you would play this whenever you know you can hit people for at least 10 damage and get that infect damage and kill them.
Oh, yeah. Infect is so gnarly. I love that. That's a great ad. And trample is incredibly powerful, especially with like a ton of creatures.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
My final ad is Supply Runners. It is 4 generic and a white for a dog creature. When Supply Runners enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So just a little beefing up.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I feel like with this deck, we took out a lot of things that were expensive without giving you... You don't get as much value for the cost of the card itself. And I think a lot of the cards that we added are going to help the deck run a little bit more optimized. Yeah, I like it. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I think I will plan on getting some of these cards and doing some of these and then playing probably Rin and Seri on Monday and seeing how these upgrades work.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited. Thank you guys so much again.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you for hanging out. I'm enjoying these. I feel like I'm learning a lot doing these and researching for these. Like,
yeah.
So
It's been
these
a lot
have
of
been
fun.
fun. I'm glad we did this.
I'm excited. Our next deck tech, we will have on a very super secret, happy, super friendly, lovey guest. We'll have Scrippy33 on. He does the Moxel every day, Moxel and Spellify on TikTok.
Yeah.
So we'll have him on for our next deck tech session, which is super exciting. But thank you so much to our Patreon members, our Tier 3 members, our Hammy, Sleaze and Dweebs, Ballistic Lex, Doug Cooksey, Johnny 28 Graham, Milkman Proxies, Lux and MTG, and Adam Lowe. Thank you to all of our Patreon members. We could not keep podding without you guys. We love you guys so much. And yeah, I'm Sarah.
I'm Sandwich.
We're in GirlPod.
And now you're on GirlPod too.
Bye.
Bye.
Girl pod. What's up, Girl Pod? She's in Girl Pod too.